Hezbollah has been firing large numbers of rockets and anti-tank missiles into northern Israel over the past 48 hours, resulting in dozens of wounded Israelis and massive damage to buildings and property in border communities. Much of that damage came from fires that started when rocket or fragments of intercepted rockets fell in open areas with dry, dead grass and trees. The brutal heat wave Israel is suffering from makes this problem very serious. Amidst this crisis, the IDF has announced that it is planning to go to war with Hezbollah in the coming week, even as the Shin Bet announced that it had broken up a planned attack on Israeli civilians. Also, in the last 24 hours, the government released sad news that 4 hostages were confirmed to have died in Hamas captivity in Gaza and have been identified. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 242nd day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. Apparently, there is now an active war front in northern Israel as well. Large areas in northern Israel have been burning for the past day as a result of the heavy barrages of fire by the terrorist organization Hezbollah. Firefighters who have arrived at the area of the fires are working against the heavy fire without firefighting planes due to the fear of Hezbollah shooting at them. In some places, the civilian emergency response unit in the north are standing and fighting alone against the heavy fire that has been spreading for many hours. During the night, the fires were burning in 3 main areas, but there are also many other centers where a hard fight against the fire is still going on. In Kiryat Shmona and Ramim Ridge, firefighter teams continue extinguishing operations and protecting the line of houses. Professional firefighting units from the center of the country were dispatched to the north early Tuesday morning under an emergency procedure. Please join us in prayer for the safety and success of these firefighting crews, as more alarms have been heard all over the northern border with Lebanon, warning of the infiltration of Hezbollah drones and other threats. Let me give you some background to all of this. It is clear that the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, can understand from Israel's recent assassinations in Lebanon that the IDF knew exactly where he is and could target him at any moment. This makes him very vulnerable, and he knows that when an all-out war begins, he will be one of the first casualties. So he has no interest in the war escalating. At the same time, however, there is reason to believe that the war in Gaza is nearing accumulation, an end, and this motivates Hezbollah to increase their attacks in order to support Hamas in the negotiations over the end of the fighting. Another important point to remember is that over the past several months, Israel has eliminated dozens of senior Hezbollah field operatives, commanders, and leaders. On Monday, the latest of these strikes took out Hussein Ali Hazkul, a key field commander in the Hezbollah air defense network. A few hours later, early Tuesday morning, Muhammad Khalil Atiyah, a key terrorist in the air unit of Hezbollah's elite ground forces, was eliminated in the Arzon area. Following these operations, many alarms indicating incoming rocket attacks were heard in the northern Israeli communities. More than anything else, the elimination of these two senior Hezbollah operatives in the past few days sends a signal to other Hezbollah terrorists that they're in Israel's crosshairs, and their turn to be in the receiving end of a missile might be next. The same is true of anyone who Hezbollah has sent out to man rocket launching sites, as the IDF is currently in an intense operation to target and destroy these sites. Please keep spreading the truth, share and follow us. Take a minute and subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the follow button, so that together we can share the truth as far as possible. Switching from the north to Judea and Samaria, in the last 24 hours the IDF broke up an attempt by terrorists to fire into the community of Sharon from the Palestinian Authority administrated city of Tulkarem. Soldiers from the 636th Battalion engaged a squad of terrorists as they approached the scene area in order to fire on Israeli civilians. The terrorists returned fire but were eliminated in the shootout. This engagement was part of an operation by the IDF to monitor the area in order to confront terrorists who have carried out several shooting attacks and attempted attacks into Israeli communities from within Palestinian Authority administrated areas. The seam line has been heavily fortified since the beginning of the war, and hundreds of known terrorists have been arrested throughout Judea and Samaria, while several hundred others resisted arrest and were eliminated in fierce battles with Israeli forces. Also, in the last 24 hours, the Shin Bet cleared for publication a story about an arrest of a terrorist who planned to carry out a suicide attack in Israel. On March 15, Anas Shulman, a Palestinian originally from Tulkarem who lives in Jordan, was arrested in Nablus by the Shin Bet and Israeli Defense Forces after he was suspected of being involved in planning a deadly attack in Israel. The investigation that resulted from this arrest revealed that Hamas has established a new headquarters in Turkey that is directing terrorist attacks inside Israel. I have to make a comment on all of this. Take a look at how many attempts Hamas has made to escalate and destabilize the situation on the ground by trying to terrorize and murder Israeli citizens. We will remind you that on March 11th, a terrorist resident of Jenin who was on his way to Israeli territory to carry out an attack with a ready-to-use bomb on him was eliminated by the Shin Bet. There are probably many other terrorist attacks being planned right now, so please join us in praying for protection against these plots. Here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on the issue. Please continue to help us spread the truth and support us so that we can continue to bring you up-to-date and high-quality content about Israel. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please consider making a financial donation by clicking the link you see on YouTube or by going to our website at www.tbn.org/Israel. I must conclude this report by sharing some sad news with you. On Monday evening, the IDF announced that 4 abductees, Chaim Peri, Yoram Metzger, Amiram Koper, and Nadav Poplewel, lost their lives. Their deaths were determined after receiving intelligence information that reached the IDF and was recently verified. The bodies of these 4 hostages are still being held in the Gaza Strip, along with 120 other abductees, of whom we know that 43 are dead. Confirming of the deaths of these hostages came from a committee of experts from the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and the Chief Rabbi of Israel, who examined the findings. Meanwhile, IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said in a special statement that we estimate that the 4 were killed together in the Khan Yunis area several months ago. This is inside the Gaza Strip, while being held by Hamas terrorists and while the IDF forces were operating inside Khan Yunis. Know that difficult questions will arise regarding the circumstances of the death. We are examining them in depth and will present the findings as soon as possible, transparently, first to the families and then to the public as well. We will continue with all operational and intelligence efforts to bring more information about the situation of the abductees and to return all of the abductees home as soon as possible. This is the moral duty that is placed before our eyes. Please join me in prayer for the situation in Israel, for the families of the hostages and those who lost their lives in this war against Hamas terrorists. Pray for the IDF soldiers. Pray for all the civilians that are affected by this conflict. We know that God has a plan and He's in control. So let's unite in praying for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.